Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back to Diary of an Olympic Triathlete. We're now in week 11 of this video series. And I just realized that today I'm wearing actually the shirt for my first ever triathlon, which I think is cool. You guys can't see the logo, but this is the shirt they gave us. If I can pull it up here. It says triathlon, guys. It's cool. It was actually an indoor triathlon. On top of that, was the first triathlon I did. It was a super sprint. Um, so it was, let's see, it was 500 yards swimming, 4 miles bike, and 2 miles running. And that swim nearly killed me. It was really bad. I think I mentioned this before in one of my previous videos in the series. But yeah, that 500-yard swim in my first ever triathlon, because I decided to sign up like 4 weeks, 5 weeks before, and I had never swam laps in a pool before then. Or like I had a few times, but it had always been disastrous. So I'd never done it continuously. Like I never done it, in a consistent way. Um, but for that race, I had to train every week, doing at least one training session. A couple I did two, and then like in the week lead up to a race, you're supposed to taper for races. I did like the complete opposite of a taper. I just did this like super intensive kind of build up, like just doing more and more sessions of swimming. And then I think it wasn't the day before, it was 2 days before. I did like a race simulation where I put it all together. Anyway, that's a lot of rambling about the triathlon, but the swimming part was really hard, is the point. But now I really like swimming. I'd say swimming is like, just the activity itself is actually one of my favorites. Like I just really enjoy the feeling of like cruising through the water. And especially with summer, it's nice to cool off. But with the hand, I still can't swim. I have an appointment next week where I am going to ask them about swimming, if I can get back into it, if I'm going to start swimming, how am I going to go about that? Because I do miss the pool. I miss swimming, but obviously my finger has to come first. So I have to take things in a logical manner. But yeah, I would really like to get back out there and swim if I could. So we're gonna see what the doc says, because that's the most important. But yeah, like if I could, then I could start reincorporating that to my routine. And this summer, for sure, I want to do a triathlon. Like I don't have any specific one nailed down, but I have a couple out there that I've identified that could be fun to do. And I definitely just have the idea that like if I'm allowed to swim, I definitely want to do at least one. Probably not competitively, like not for a time, just to have the experience, because I miss it, man. Like the last triathlon I did was in February, which is kind of crazy to think about now, because like when I was starting to train for the Olympic triathlon, which started this series, I was doing so like maybe a month after my previous triathlon. So like I was pretty much going triathlon, 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 and now it's been like almost half a year since my last triathlon. Like so, yeah, because February is June now. Okay, well, it's been 4 months, so it hasn't been that long. But the point is, it also feels like it's been a lot longer, because a lot of things have happened in between. So you know, anyway. But speaking of training, so I am training, not for triathlons at the moment, obviously, but the running training, which has been going well. Last week was my first week with interval sessions focused on the mile, and I did my mile time trial, which the video is on the channel, so you guys can go watch that. If you don't want a spoiler of what happened during the time trial, pause the video now and go watch it, because I'm about to spoil it. All right, now we're spoiling it. So what happened during that time trial? Well, first off, I'll just recap the week. So on Monday, I did a training session where I was aiming to do 400 intervals and do those in 145 pace, which would be 7 minute mile pace. So that was my goal for the time trial, was to do it in under 7 minutes. So I was training at that pace in the intervals, and I was beating that time I was beating my split on every single interval. I think the slowest interval I ran was like 142, and then I was running a bunch at like 130 something. So I was like, I felt good, and that was with 2 minutes rest in between intervals. So like, I was giving myself a good amount of rest, but also like I was feeling good running it. I was going pretty quick, so I had a lot of confidence that I could run a very good time in that time trial. I did run it, and I ended up with a 6:55 mile. So really good. That's a personal best, of course, and that is under 7 minutes. So we got that first objective, and also there were a lot of tactical problems I noticed in that run that could have been fixed that would have improved my time. Like the biggest tactical one was in the third lap. I let myself slow down because I didn't realize I was slowing down because I hadn't identified before the race the splits I had to hit. I talk about this in the video, but on the third lap, I thought I had to get one time, and it turns out I had to get a time that was 15 minutes quicker, or sorry, not 15 minutes, 15 seconds. So I needed to finish the third lap in 5:30. Like I needed to be at the end of I had to be at the end of the third lap by 5:15. I don't know what's going on. My brain's just doing things today. Anyway, I had to finish the third lap by 5:15. That would give me a minute and 45 seconds to get to a 7-minute mile by the end of the last lap. I thought what I had to do was finish it in 5:30. So I let myself keep cruising at that slower pace. Once I got there, I did the mental math and realized, oh, I've only left myself a minute and a half, which would mean I would have to run a minute and a half lap, which was faster than the pace I was supposed to be running to get my 7-minute mile. So that's what happened. Was like because I remember as I was running the third lap, I thought this feels easier than I thought it was going to. That's because I was slowing down. I was maintaining the same rate of exertion, but my legs were getting tired with the lactic acid, so I was starting to slow down. And so I ran that third lap in 2 minutes when I should have run it in 1:45. And that could have cut a lot of time off of my final time because I still had a good amount of energy in the tank for the last lap. Like I ended up speeding up because I ran that final lap in 85 seconds. I had to run it in a good amount under the split. So if I had just been able to run that, like if I hadn't had to run that in 85 seconds, if I had stayed on time, then, I could have, the point is I could have gotten a much better time. Like realistically, I could have even gotten like a 6:40 mile. It's possible. And so that's kind of the result we got from there. And that was on Friday was when I did the time trial. I did on Wednesday. I did just like an easy run with some strides. Sunday I did a run bike run because I had to run to the gym and I did a little static bike there and then ran back. That was a nice little training session. And then yesterday, Monday, was a really hard day because I did do running and strength. So that was last Wednesday as well. I forgot to mention because last Wednesday I had to do running and then strength, and those days are really tiring me out because they're just like a whole day that's completely dedicated to exercise, pretty much because you have 2 sessions, one in the morning and then one is at night. So it's like you finish the morning session, you're tired, and then you still have that knowledge that, okay, in 8 hours, I'm going to have to go to the gym and do another session. And also, I don't like strength sessions. So then you just add in that. Like, it's a session that's not enjoyable. Because if it was like, oh, I have to go again, but it's an easy 30-minute run, okay, fine, cool. Like, I'll put on some tunes. I'll head out. I don't know who says that anymore. I'll put on some music, and I'll go out there for my little run, and that's it. But instead, it's like, it's just this whole thing. So yeah, it was hard. Like on Monday, because on Monday we did a faster interval workout. So that time we were running 140 400s. So because now we're trying to get to 640. That's kind of my next goal I'm trying to hit. And as I mentioned, based on the tactical errors I made in the original mile, I think I could get that even this week. Like that's something that's very, very reachable. So I ran those splits and I was beating those splits too. Like in my workout, I was running, 140, 138, 136. I think I even ran, or 135. I ran one of the reps in. And then I ran some 200s at the end of that though. And those killed me. Like my 200 is quite good. I've come to find out because I've done some 200s in my workouts with my spikes on, my newly acquired spikes. And which, by the way, I did not do the time trial in those spikes, but I'm starting to train in that. So the next time I run a mile, I want to do it in spikes. And, I've done a couple 200s with them and they've always been very, they've been good. Like, especially relative to kind of what I expected, because I wasn't sure what to expect. I got the first 200 I did that last Wednesday, just like for fun. I did it in 29.5. Which that's my current BB, because on Monday I then did 2 more 200s, which I both did them all out, which I realized was an error. Like you're not supposed to do them. If you're trying to do a bunch of 200s together, they should not be all out 200s. Because I did the first one in 29.7, which, a very good time. And I think part of that was I was tired from having done all the 400s. But then I did, a walk recovery. I gave myself like 4 or 5 minutes, and I tried to run another 200. And that 200, I just could tell like I was not going all out because I literally did not have it in me. So I ran that one in 31.8, I think. And then I almost threw up. And then I felt like I was going to throw up for the following, 15, 20 minutes. So that session killed me. But it is what it is. Otherwise it was a good workout. Like I felt good, and it really makes me feel comfortable about, my next mile attempt. And yeah, then I had to do a strength session at night, and that was hard. Because I never really want to do them at this point. Like there aren't too many strength exercises that I enjoy doing. I found box jumps. I do enjoy doing those. So whenever I can, I incorporate those into my routines. But that's plyometrics. That's one type of strength, which is important for running. But also you have to do the other type, which is what you get from squats, what you get from putting down weight. And so that has to be the other side of things. So and that's where I bring kind of the other important aspect I'm going to talk about today, which is my running form, because that is something that during the time trial I discovered because I was videoing it. You guys can see there's some videos of some parts of it. So I could see myself running. And that's one of the first times I've videoed myself running like ever. And especially recently, like there are a few videos of me running from when I was younger, but it's like my parents at a track meet would have videoed me or whatever. But like other than that, and I don't even know what those videos are. Like really the only videos I have currently of me running are the ones that were recorded during that time trial. And the thing is, I've seen photos of me running because, when you finish like a 5K, they usually snap a photo of you, in the final stretch. And I did note that my feet seemed to be in a weird position. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like, and I just, for some reason, I don't know why I'm like this. I just have a tendency to do things in a weird way. Like if you see me play basketball, my shot looks very weird compared to any other person's shot. Because I shoot like way in the back, like behind my head. Which it looks very like Larry Bird when I do that. But the point is I tend to do things in a weird way. And so I was like, of course I'm going to run weird because why would I not run weird? Right. That's just, God just hates me. He just makes me do things in weird ways because I feel like I'm doing them completely normal. And this just goes for like literally anything. Like I feel like I'm doing it completely normal. And then I see a video and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it normal. And so of course running had to be that way too. I ended up looking at the video of my running and what happened. So turns out I have a slight extreme case of duck feet, as they call it. Basically, my feet splay out as I'm running. So you guys, if you go back and watch the time trial, you can see this. There were points when I was landing, and when you land, your foot is supposed to do this. Like it's flat against the ground. It's like straight, like it's going straight forward. It's like this, right? And it's just going like this, you're plodding along, whatever. So the actual landing of my foot was good. Like I was landing on the midsole, I was landing under my body, good. All that part was good. What was not good is that your foot's supposed to be like this, and my foot was like this. Like it was pointing out. And there are I have no idea how I was doing this and didn't like break my knee or something, because you see the videos and you're like, how is your knee doing that? Like it is hard to understand because like my foot in some of them is like legitimately, I'd say cocked at a 45, 50 degree angle to the side. Like it's very sideways. And yet somehow I was pushing myself backwards. And actually as I was sprinting, it got worse. Like in the final sprint, it got worse. But yet for me, my final kick is like my strongest attribute. Like for me, I mean, as I said, the last lap I ran in 85 seconds, which is, that's a minute 25. I was running all the other laps in a minute 45. So I ran it in 20 seconds quicker than all the other laps. And yet, I was running with this just weird looking form. And I did some research on it, and it turns out the reason this happens was a variety of reasons, but the most common is your hips. Basically your hip flexors, because of our generation and just in general in modern life, we tend to be sitting down a lot. And what do you do when you sit down a lot? You spread your legs out, right? Like that's, especially me, I'm tall. So my legs have nowhere to go. Like I can't just sit with my legs put together because they'll be like super high up. So I spread them apart, and naturally, what does that mean? that my hip flexors are always in this open position where my knees are like spread apart like this. So then your hip flexors also control where your feet are pointing, and your feet also, when you splay your hips like this, your feet also splay open. And when you do that for 20 years, like I have, your feet get very used to being like this and not like this. But when you run, you want them to be like this. So, but the problem is, like, once I noticed it, I just tried running like this for a little while, and it felt very unnatural. And that's the reason, is that my hip flexors are so inflexible to go like this because they're not used to being like this. They're used to being like this. So they're very comfortable in this position and very uncomfortable in this position. So I did some research, and there's certain PT exercises you can do that basically work on strengthening and making more flexible the hip muscles so that you run in a better way. And it's important you do them because if you're always running with this like duck feet effect, it makes you more prone to injuries because our knees and our joints are not made, and our ligaments are not made to absorb shock like that. They're made to absorb them with your feet straight. So that's going to be my cross for a while as a runner, is going to be, because like my landing and my location of landing is all good. It's just the feet pointing outside, like outward. And also it does look a little bit silly. So, consciously now as I've been running, I'm trying to keep it more straight, but also naturally with these exercises, it should bring your feet more in because your hip flexors will get stronger. So that's what I was doing. And that's what I focused on in the strength session. So it did feel a bit more productive because, in general, the strength sessions, it's true they feel productive. But like, I know that I'm doing strength right now, and the dividends are not in what happens, but more in what doesn't happen, which is to say I don't get injured. That's what a strength session is really for as a runner, is, I don't get injured. And also, I do get quicker, but I'm also getting quicker from running. And the running's obviously having a bigger impact. Like the strength helps you to be faster, but it doesn't do all the work. Like the other part that's important is obviously the running. Like if I didn't do a strength session, I would still get faster just from running. So, it's interesting because like they're hard sessions. They're the hardest sessions I do because it's like I'm just doing squats and it's kind of boring and like, whatever. But like I do understand their importance. But with this PT stuff, it's a bit more direct because I can see, all right, I'm doing this mobility work, and directly I know what impact it's going to have on making, my feet go like this, which I know is going to make me less prone to injury, versus a calf raise. I know it's just preventing, in general, that calf injury will happen. I don't really know how, and I don't know when. So I don't know. It's an interesting trade-off. But yeah, so I did quite a bit of that. I felt good. So it's just going to be doing that for a long time though, because it's going to take months for that problem to get better. I am glad though that I identified it, because otherwise the problem, as they were describing in some of the videos, is that you are creating micro injuries with this because you're not running with the proper form, but you don't realize it until it shows up as injuries, right? So you're creating all this damage, and then you get injured, and it's possible that ends up being a bigger injury. It's possible because, like, for example, I was saying my knees look like they're in a weird spot. Well, it turns out like I could then end up with a knee tear, for instance. And then that's a big injury that could have me out for years. Not just like out of running, just out of walking in general, which is a much bigger problem. So obviously that's something to correct now. And something that doesn't just affect my running either, it affects my walking too, because like I walk in that way as well, which I thought was normal. And I think it's normal to an extent, but it's still good to correct it. Or at least minimize it. Like don't, like your feet can't be perfectly straight, but like, a little, this is probably fine. This is not fine, So that's kind of where we're at with that. And just working on things. I'm getting more used to the track spikes. That's good. And then the week ahead for running, what is that going to look like? So I ran on Monday, did the double session. Wednesday is going to be a little easier, run with some strides. And then we have an interesting opportunity, which was brought to my attention by my dad, which is that on Thursday, which would normally be a rest day for me, there's a mile race at a track near us. That's like this historic race. They've been doing it for many years, and it seems quite cool. Actually, my dad and my brother have trained there a good bit, so I've been to the track before, and like it's a cool stadium, it's a cool location. So I think it'd be really cool to run a mile there, and it would be a chance for me to see, now with good tactics, slight improvements in how I'm running the mile. What time could I end up getting there? Because like if I have that same finishing kick, but instead of running a 2-minute lap 3, I run a 1:45 lap 3 as I should have. I would have gotten a 6:40 mile just on that alone. Like I could have run a much better mile. So, we're going to see, obviously, there one thing, like if you run faster mile lap 3, though, maybe that takes a bit out of your kick. So we're going to have to see. But I'm going to try to run that mile on Thursday and just kind of see what happens. And I'll be running that in spikes because it's on a track. So we're going to see, we could see a vast improvement in my time from one week to another, which would be insane. I don't know. I really know what to take from that. Like maybe we could see mass improvement, or we could see it even go down. We'll just have to see, how I'm feeling on race day. But yeah, so that'll be Thursday. Friday, the plan is a little bike and a weight session. And I hope that I won't be too tired out from the mile race. We're just gonna have to see. But I'm gonna do that all kind of together. Like I'll just go to the gym, do a bike. I might do a shorter bike since I'm gonna be doing that mile, and then I'll do a weight session as well. And then Sunday, we'll take Saturday off. Sunday is a 5K. That was planned. That's been planned for a while. It's going to be my first 5K back, which I'm excited. According to my mile time now, having done the math, I should be able to run a sub 24-minute 5K already. You guys will be getting the news on that, but we could already be crossing that big milestone off. That's been something that's like been in mind really since Christmas last year. Like, because that's what I thought I was going to run when I ran my first 5K, recent times, which was Christmas Eve on the, before Christmas last year, Christmas Eve 2023. I wanted to get a 24-minute 5K, and I was quite disappointed getting a 25, 48 5K, which is what I got. But I should have realized, like, first off, I didn't realize how the pacing worked out, but also I wasn't in shape enough to run a 24-minute 5K. But now, so like it's been on there for a while because then I did the triathlon. I missed out by 14 seconds. So it's like now I need to get there. Like I need to just cross that off and on to the next thing because now it's been kind of up there since it's been there for 6 months. Like when I think about it, it's 5 months because June just started. But point is, it's been hanging around there for a while. It would be nice to just scratch it off. Problem is that course is very far from the ideal course to run a 5K because it's not fast at all. It's it's rolling hills on the first half and then like uphill and then it's rolling downhill on the way back. So it's a weird course. Like it's one where negative splitting is going to be quite easy because I'm going to have to run slow on the first half and then quick on the second half with the downhill. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see like kind of what the situation will be. But yeah, it's not ideal. Because ideally, I'd run a flat course, and hopefully later in the summer I can run a nice flat course 5K somewhere. But I'm really not sure when that will be. When I'll be able to do that. But just gotta see. I mean, every weekend there's a 5K somewhere, so we just got to be looking for opportunities. But I can at least set probably a road PB, I'd say, because my 24:14 5K I set on a treadmill because I was part of an indoor triathlon. So. That one I have is my PB asterisk because the treadmill part does like I'm sure there are people that would argue it's illegitimate, which would mean that my PB is 25:48, and I feel like that is very beatable because especially according to my mile time when you put that into race converters, if you can run a 6:55 mile, you should be able to run a 24-minute 5K, which means at least beating a 25-minute 5K should be doable enough. We'll see. I'll update you guys next week. There's going to be a lot of updates because I'm going to have to update you guys on the mile race, the 5K, and we're going to have a doctor's appointment. So next week is going to be nice and full for that video. So I'm excited. But yeah, that's about it, to be honest. We just have that 5K. I'll be gearing up for it. I'm not going to go out too aggressively, but I think a PB is possible. I really just need to. As long as I go at an 8-minute mile pace and then I'm able to stick with that pace, I'll get my PB. The question is just going to be if I can. So we'll see. We'll see how bad those hills are. If not, let's see. Next week is going to be a track meet where I'm going to run the mile again. So I'm going to get 3 miles in 3 weeks, like 3-mile races in 3 weeks, which will be fun. I'll also be doing the 800 meters at that track meet, so that's going to be cool. That I'm really just doing as like an experimental. Because my dad was like, "Hey, why don't you try signing up for the 800 meters? It's late enough in the meet that I have enough rest to give it a real go." And I don't know, I just think it'd be fun. and it's, close enough to the mile that it could be a fun event to do. So I'll be doing that. And then the week after, I'll be doing another 5K. But the problem is that 5K is also going to be hilly trails. So it's also not a good PB situation. So it's going to be like the end. I'll have to wait till the end of June before I'm going to have like a good opportunity for a solid PB attempt on like a flat course, because all the 5Ks I'll be doing up until that point will be on more hilly, unless I don't do the trail 5K, which is a possibility. So we shall have to see. But yeah, that's it. I'm sorry for all the rambling in this video. It's probably been like all over the place, but there's some excitement, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm on a rest day, so I have energy. That's the one thing. Now that we're doing these videos on a Tuesday, you got to deal with me energetic, because I don't know why I did the snap thing. That was weird. The point is, I'm gonna have energy on these rest days, because if I went back to videoing these on Mondays like I'd originally planned to, you'd be seeing me at like 4 in the afternoon, being like, I am dead, because I'd have finished one training session and then be waiting to start the next one. I'd just be like, I don't want to do anything. Because that was me at 6 yesterday. 6 p.m. was just laying in my bed like, ugh. And now it's 7 p.m. and I feel so full of energy. So that's the good and the bad part of training. Like, training is good because it gets you into a good sleep schedule. You're sleeping at a reasonable hour. You're doing things the right way. But at the same time, it's hard. Like, it's hard because then on the training days you're tired. You have to just kind of deal with that tiredness. Like, it's a balance of things. But anyway, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks, y'all, for watching. Thank you for your attention and following the channel as always. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or whatnot, you can leave those in the comments below. And I will see y'all very soon with another video in this series, Diary of Olympic Triathletes. Be up for week 12 next week on Tuesday. So I'll see y'all then. Peace.